Hi, buddy. It's Jeff Allen here, and what I'm going to do is going to talk about today in this video about kind of intellectual property infringement and plagiarism for research. And that research can be in academia. That research can be in industry. I'm going to kind of cover these different angles because I've dealt with this and I've avoided it in some places. And I want to give some examples as much as I can say. And I also want to give some advice that can help others avoid getting into situations where it's a little bit difficult. I'm going to speak a little bit slowly because I know that this is actually coming as a response to a LinkedIn question that was asked in French, and I do not want to have to make two different versions of this. So I'm going to speak slowly enough so that the people can use if their English is not sufficient enough, I want them to be able to use the auto translate in whatever they're in YouTube, which I'm going to put this on, in order to be able to translate into French. And I know that it works fairly well with my voice. That's okay. So what I'm going to say about studies. When I was doing my doctoral work, at least the start of actually my master's work, my master's studies, and I was lucky to have professors in two different countries in several different universities. My master's degree in Portland State, I was lucky to have Jim Nadiger and to have a few other professors there that were they were good about this. They were not plagiarizers. And Jim Nadiger actually, he passed away a few years later, but he was not. He was someone that gave away ideas in his classes. It was obvious. He wrote books, but he gave away ideas, and he encouraged, and he really encouraged when you could have an idea. He was not someone that was that, at Portland State University. So the late Jim Nadiger was really good for that, and I believe too that Jan de Carrico and Marge Turdal and others there on Tom Diederich, I did not feel that they were plagiarizers, that they would take ideas from students, and I felt confident in that. And that was in the linguistics department, actually over in the French department as well. You know, Rita Rose Vistica, she would never take ideas; she would encourage you to have ideas. Um, Eric Swenson, I felt the same, and Claudine Fisher, she was writing enough books; it didn't matter. So she had plenty of ideas, and those professors I were models. There were those that I knew that they would encourage me, and they did encourage me, and they supported me to build ideas. So that was my that was from my bachelor's degree and the beginning and my first kind of master's program. Then I came to France, and I came to the University of Lyon, so Lyons. And it's the second number two university because there are three of them in Lyon. There are University One, University Two, and University of Lyon. So I was in University Two, and the professors there, the ones that I worked closely with. I mean, there were two of them that had studied in the United States and other PhDs in the United States and had been very successful in the United States, and they got really good positions in France. They were ones that actually supported a lot of African students to come and do their work, and they were not plagiarizers. I did not feel that. I didn't work closely with them because my work was actually in the Caribbean language and not in the African language, so I wasn't working in the same language. But I took courses from them, and I could tell that they would really push us to the limit. And that was good, but they weren't plagiarizers, and they had studied in the U.S. and they knew kind of the constraints that you do in the United States. So that was Jean-Marie Humbert, so Jean-Marie Humbert, and also Gilbert Puech. But my thesis advisor for the two theses that I actually did in Lyon was under Norbert Dupont. So Norbert Dupont is in French, and he was just all I can say was he was a storyteller. He he was so he would never pronounce the same word twice in the same 90-minute presentation. He just told stories that just made you want to do it. And he wasn't, I would say, a really published person. I didn't feel that, I didn't know of any of his publications. Um, and I did two theses under him. But he was willing to support me and others in doing things in sociolinguistics that he was really advocating for. I also studied under, um, I think his name was Jean Baptiste Martin. So Jean Baptiste Martin, who was a dialectologist who was pretty well known. He had studied a really famous dialectologist. I can't remember his name in France. He was already publishing a lot of things in dialectology, so he wanted you to do the work and do the work on dialectology, and he really did really support me in that. I decided to do the Creole stuff rather than the French dialectology stuff specifically in France, and that's fine. But he was really into letting you do things. So I really had some great um, experiences in Lyon. And the Loke van der Veen, Loke, I totally respect you. Okay, you were my best man at my marriage. So I mean, what can I say? Um, so you're best man at my wedding. So you're a man I really respect. Um, you and your wife were both, in our wedding party, and you just really, you encourage people. And I never actually studied under you. Um, we just taught in the same department, did research in the same department. I never had actually study any class. I never took any classes from you at that point in time because you were giving the beginning classes, and I was already pretty advanced. But I knew your reputation, and you have continued with your reputation. So, so when I say at the University of Lyon, in the Harriet Gisa, you, Harriet, you actually got me hired on to do teaching at Lyon too, and you actually got me the translation jobs to do the psychology translation of the journals review papers for some of your colleagues in the psychology department. But you actually got me the job there at teaching as a lecturer. And although I never took a class from you, Harriet, you were already publishing. You were doing it. You weren't worrying about students that were gonna outdo you, and you really, you know, you had a pretty good reputation. You had a good reputation there, from what I recall. So I've had a few professors that I studied under, and then now I'm not saying that all were great. And there was the guy in the teaching French. I can't remember his name actually. I think his name was Jean Pierre something. I can't remember his last name, and I really regret this because I actually taught with him, and he brought me on to teach French at the École Supérieure de Commerce de Lyon, which is the graduate business school of Lyon, and he really trusted me, and he actually told the other French teachers to follow what I was doing. He was just really into supporting his students. So all I can say is I just had a lot of great experience at Lyon. I did have one teacher, I won't say the name, who it didn't go well with, and who actually wanted to take my ideas, and I'm not gonna state that person's name. Wanted to borrow my stuff and didn't, and actually gave me bad grades and stuff because I kind of in the final exam, in the oral exam, I kind of showed that I knew what I was doing, and that didn't go over well because I dared to challenge the questions because the questions were vague and my stuff was clear, and I had experience doing it, and that didn't go over well because of kind of sometimes the French people can't handle it when their students are as good or better, um, and they don't like that. So I did have some situations where it didn't it in my master's degree at that point, my second kind of master's degree work, that was already, I could saw some things. Then I decided to move on from there after that doctoral work to go do a PhD in another kind of doctoral program and do an American PhD. And and so I had the opportunity, after having lived for 5 years in France, I could kind of decide where I wanted to go in the United States. There was just, this was not a problem. I could, and I wanted to go do something that was related to, well, not just related to French, but was related to French dialectology and French dialects and French regional languages, because that's, I had already been working in the Creole language stuff. So hey, and if I could, combine that with African linguistics, then hey, that would be even better. Um, so I actually applied. I'm going to say where I applied to. So I'm going to be very honest here because I can. It's been 30 years, so I can do this now. So I applied to the doctoral programs, and again, this was not my first doctoral kind of degree. It was kind of a next level, and there are between the French system and the American system at that point in time, it wasn't equal. So there were kind of different levels, and so I was going for a second level thing, uh, that had a kind of an intermediate level. So the PhD was actually kind of a second level in the United States compared to what I had been doing in France. So I applied to Boston College. I applied to Indiana University, and I applied to the University of Illinois at Champaign, Illinois. And Boston had a really good program in African linguistics. I can't remember the names of the people because I actually didn't end up going there. Um, it was kind of my third choice. And remember, I had been in France, and I was able to get a teaching assistantship. I was going for teaching, graduate teaching systems to pay for all this tuitions for this. I wasn't going to pay for this. So I was choosing very carefully where am I going to. I had thought about Georgetown University because I had already actually done some writing work with George Fasshold. So I'd considered Georgetown, but I didn't want to go do the sociolinguistics program at Georgetown, which I could have done, and I probably would have been done well. Sorry, but but that's not what I want to do. I want to do more linguistics than the sociolinguistics part because I've already done the sociolinguistics part, and I really, the values of George were great. I could really see that he was, really, he would have been a great person to work with because I, written done some publications, work with him, writing on like some committees of writing a book together. And Vernacular Literature is the name of the book that we were kind of working on together in some things. So which actually did come out by the Oxford University Press. So I applied to Boston, not to Georgetown, for the reason that they didn't have the linguistics program that I wanted. Okay, um, and I applied to Indiana University, which was number one in the United States for teaching French, which I'd spent 5 years in France, and I'd been a French teacher and done my bachelor's degree in French too, and I was doing a master's of teaching action French at Portland State combined with applied linguistics. So, but then I actually moved over to applied linguistics. It was more theoretical linguistics in the end, but it was just applied linguistics as a name. And uh, Indiana University, I chose that because it was going to allow me to do things, was to teach French and do a French linguistics degree with a Creole linguistics specialization. And the reason that's because at a Creole linguistics, a Creole Institute, the Creole Institute under Albert Baldwin. And I applied there because of that. That was kind of my number one choice. And then my number two choice was Indiana or Illinois Champaign. And I had one of my best friends, who had come from the University of Lyon, and he went to Champaign, so I knew he was there as well, and he really recommended. And the University of Champaign had a really good second language acquisition program, including French, but I actually other languages too, because I got some colleagues that came and who studied Champagne today. So, so kind of Indiana was the number one choice, and then Champagne was the two. And actually, I of the three, I got two offers, teaching assistantships, graduate teaching assistantships or instructorships or what do you want to call it, or associate instructorships or what do you call these things because they have different names in different universities. And I chose Indiana for the obvious reasons I just said. Because I was working in Creole languages, so that was kind of my thing already. And hey, wow, you get out of a teaching assistantship and do a research assistantship too. How about that? So I got a little background noise here. I'm in the restaurant, but I'll just talk a little bit louder while the rolling carts by at the end of the evening. And so now I will say that before going there, and they did push it a year later because I had to get married and stuff, so they waited a year. But I did do some background research, and I did talk with students had studied under Albert Waldman, and I talked to them that were graduating or had just graduated during conferences. At conferences, I talked to them to kind of find out how he was. And there were some, it was kind of a hemming and hawing. Okay, so I had kind of had my signs to kind of be careful. And I'm not saying that he's bad or anything. I'm just saying, hey, you do your research, you do it. You ask people and you do it. So I kind of had a feeling, okay, I just wanted, and I did end up going in there. Now I left there actually after the first semester, not because of Albert Baldwin, okay, is because just the French teaching stuff was just not up to par with what I wanted to do and what I was willing. And I actually teach their terminology was 25 years old, and I just said, forget this. I'm not going to unlearn my French. I've just spent 5 years learning in real context, and I'm married to a French woman, and I teach modern French to executive professionals. I'm not going to change my vocabulary. And I just said, you guys either let me teach it the way I do and let me do it, and I don't care if it's on the final exam or not, we will find a way to deal with that. Or I go elsewhere. And I went elsewhere, went to industry. I just left that program. But not because of Oliver Waldman, okay? I'm going to be very clear about that. Now, some of his colleagues that kind of tried to shame me for leaving, too bad for them. But I did at that point in time learn that you got to be careful about potential, just some potential things with. Again, we're talking about the potential infringement of intellectual property ideas, which includes dissertations, theses. What do you want to call these things? Because actually, the British English and French, and British English and American English, it's actually dissertation and theses are have opposite meanings. Then, then I went into industry and kept publishing and doing French and translation systems and stuff, and then I went on to do Creole, actually French translation system stuff, and a lot of publications. So I actually continued my publications thing because I had already done publications before I went to Indiana. That's why Indiana actually took me, because I already did publications in real language and French. So I already had been publishing. So it was kind of hard to, we had to deal with the fact that I was already pretty experienced in this, and I already taught linguistics. At SIL, in the French branch of SIL. I taught linguistics in all branches of linguistics, all of them. So in the intro classes. So I was not a novice or a newbie in this field. So then fast forward a couple of years. Actually, when I was at Carnegie Mellon University, I did not do the program. I was researcher. I was hired as a research linguist at Carnegie Mellon University, and then running their laboratory there for all the translation systems for the diplomat product. And that was pretty successful. I did not take the program there to do computational linguistics, which I probably should have done. But I didn't go there to go do studies. I went there to be a linguist and to make that project successful. And it needed that investment. And I was really good at it. And I didn't need to work overtime for that one. I was able to do the fun things during my job during the day, and I didn't have to do it in the weekend. I could do other things with my family, my wife on the weekends. So, and during the app, and I actually had evenings off. It was actually probably one of the better jobs in my career because I didn't have to do any overtime work because I was already doing everything I wanted to do during the day. And I want to say thank you, Bob King, for and all the folks there that just you were great colleagues. And Chris Hogan, man, you are the best programmer I've ever worked with. Okay, um, you are the best, Chris. You are the best. I will say that so many times. I wish I could have you with me next week because we do rock things right now. Still today, we were already rocking back then, but we rock it more today. Then, and then I during the time at Carnegie Mellon, I was planning. Okay, so why don't I do my next level doctoral degree that I abandoned while I was in Indiana? Why don't I do it through a French university because I already done it in France. So I actually had the opportunity to go to Duke University for a talk to give a talk with some other Creole linguists, some known ones, and so I got to Michel de Graaf was there, and a few people from the universities in the Caribbean were there. So the French university in the Caribbean, so you had Jean Barnabé, sorry, and then you had Felix Lambert. No, Felix Lambert. I'm not sure who's that. I think it was Raphael. Darn, starts with C. I can't remember his name. And a few other people. So that was in 1997 at Duke University, and some French, Creole linguists there. And so I ended up making a deal with Jean Barnabé, sorry, to do a PhD under him, the next level under him. And now he is a linguist, and I'm coming from the computational linguistics point of view. I've been done the linguistics part already, and I've already done that and been really good at that. But I want to do the computational linguistics view, which is kind of different. So we actually kind of agreed I could do it, but I actually kind of was. This is what I will do if I come and do this. Okay, and I'm not going to come and do that. I'm going to do it from a distance. So, so I'm not going to come there and actually do the mission. You gotta I'm going to send you a check, and you're going to take care of my mission for me, the mission piece. So that kind of happened, and that did that for 2 years. But of course, I had my regular job, and I was publishing in English, and I can speak and write French fluently, but I'm doing a lot more in English at that point in time in the late 1990s, 1997, 1998, 1999, 98, 99, or 1997 to 1999. And so it didn't gel, okay? And I didn't feel that, but I didn't feel that Bernabe was somebody that would take the ideas. I didn't know him well enough. I just kind of had to, take it what it was. And it was really hard to get information about people that, weren't on the internet yet, okay? This is the thing. Back in then, it was kind of hard to do it. So if you're not in their network directly, and there wasn't the internet, you kind of have to deal with that too. But so I moved back to France in end of 1998, and I decided to switch programs. And then I started doing my research, folks. I started to really do my research. And I wanted to do one in computational linguistics, so I didn't have to deal with this linguistics people that didn't understand computational linguistics stuff. I didn't want to deal with that anymore. So so what I did was I took I was working full time. I got a full time job. It's not like I'm doing the university stuff and kind of just doing nothing. I've got a full time job, making money in industry, and I'm going to choose carefully who I'm going to work under next, or who's going to allow me to help them shine. Okay, and I'm being very specific about this because that's how I did it. I contacted a few people, and I'm going to name their names. Okay. And I contacted them saying, okay, I want to switch. I'm going to transfer my file from the University of the Antilles in Martinique over to you, and I want to make sure that I'm qualifying each of these people, to be if you are the person that I want to work with, and more like, are you willing to take me on? And are you willing to follow what I am going to tell you I'm going to do? Okay. And it was that kind of constraint. I was very, now some people say I was arrogant. No, I was very clear what I wanted. And I want to make sure I didn't get screwed over. Okay, and I want to make sure that I would not be having to go through this thing that we just were discussing about this whole thing of possibly getting plagiarized and possibly having people stealing stuff from my idea. I will do the ideas that no one else will take because these are clearly my ideas and no one else has got these ideas because I'm the first one to do it and I had already been publishing before, so I knew what I wanted to do and I knew what was new and I knew what was not new, and I knew that I wanted work on things that just no one else could touch, and I've been publishing a lot already, so really a lot. I already had quite a few publications actually already in the computational linguistics machine translation field, especially Carnegie Mellon. We'd like 15 or 20 publications in the 2 years I was there. So I mean, I had plenty already. So there's no way that anyone is going to try to steal things from me. But I got to check out people. So I did. And I'm saying this, what I did. I had to be careful with this. So I, in my competition of the two thesis kind of the two more advanced level PhD kind of level doctoral theses that I was considering in two programs. One was going to be at Grenoble under Christian Boite, so it's Christian Boite, and then the second one was going to be at in the University of Provence, which is actually the ex-Marseille University 1 in Aix-en-Provence. That was going to be Jean Véronese. And I really debated back and forth between the two because they're really both well known. Each of them had their specializations. Jean had more in speech. Christian was more linguistics, but machine translation. I really debated between the two. And Christian, I got to actually meet with him and speak with him a couple times in Paris, and meet with him and talk about just talk about things. I really struggled to make a decision on the one. And I told them I was interviewing them more than they were interviewing me. And then Jean Véronese, we talked on the phone and auction phone. We actually never met. The Jean Véronese wanted me for the whole control language and the machine translation part because that was I had been doing a lot of publishing about. Christian Boite wanted me for the machine translation stuff and minor language stuff. I ended up choosing Jean Véronese, maybe because I had more little speech involved and stuff. But I should have actually taken Christian Boite. But I think neither of them was a bad choice. Christian, in the end, we actually did more things together in the future. The future years for the next decade, just collaborating on things and me advising on some things and stuff mainly. But both of them, I think, I really respected and really worked out well. But I wish I'd stuck with Christian Boite for that. And because we just, like I said, but again, I checked them out. I checked out their reputation. I looked at the different associations and the linguistic associations who were involved with and stuff. I really checked it out. So from the whole academic thing, those are kind of experience there. Now, it doesn't stop there, folks. And I've been going 29 minutes. So we're at 30 minutes right now. But I'm telling a story and I'm telling you how it kind of goes. This is not something you just say, hey, 5 minutes, done. You got to tell the story because this is you're helping people make decisions about how they need in the future, and their decisions on they're gonna do it. And people are gonna make decisions. They're gonna spend a half an hour here listening to this because it's gonna affect their life for their career. So that's why I'm taking the time. I'm taking the time to help you. So that's why you want to listen to this. Then went on to continuing industry. And I've been through, you can see look at my LinkedIn profile or any of my profiles on any of the different sites. You'll see my whole profile, and you can see the places I've worked. And I've had times where people have, tried to take my ideas or rebrand my ideas in different departments or whatever in the same, and I've been careful and I do give away a lot of stuff on purpose because I believe that giving away is good. But then some people can take your ideas and do something with it too. And there have been times when I've dealt with, some even colleagues stealing my prospects from me on my territory I was selling in, and then steal and send them back to me as referrals, and I get 50% of the commission off it. So I've had that happen too. So I kind of been careful of that. In sales, you get to deal with this territories and all that. That's another branch, but same problem: stealing and doing, and then using it for your own benefits and giving it back to your son partially, or don't give all credit. But I have run into the situation. Now, I have been in a situation where I've been in court cases, and people don't know this, but I'll just kind of briefly say it. And I'm not going to say this in detail, so I don't want to give any details of what years it was or anything, because this is kind of, But I have been in some, expert witness in some court cases over intellectual property, and I'm not going to say what, and I'm not going to say when, but I've in different domains, in different fields, and I've been done that, and I've actually helped recover a patent that was lost. And I'm not going to say where and when, but it took me a couple months, not full time, but I did recover it because I was asked to do this, and I've recovered it with a lawyer. So I've dealt with intellectual property before, okay, and I have also dealt with situations where I've had colleagues, and I'm not going to say what company or where. I'm not going to give any hint. I've had colleagues that have taken my ideas and even in meetings where I've indicated confidential on a PowerPoint and said this is confidential. I'm going to write a patent application for this, and I want to make sure that when we're hearing things, people are want to do something about it, and I'm writing a patent about it. So you all need to kind of take some time and not say anything for the next couple of months, so I can finish this patent application and do it. And they go spreading the stuff. They go spreading it. I've had that happen, and that has not been fun. Okay, I will say that has not been fun. And I've been in a situation where I had to boycott submitting patents because of I don't want to submit it for my department or division because I am not in agreement with the values that are happening. That has happened, and I will not say where. Um, and I've had times where I've been careful of um, talking about projects I'm working on, ideas I've got with some colleagues that I fear might steal ideas because other people told me you got to be careful with that person. But I've actually found out in the end that that person was actually more of an ally than anything else. And I'm not going to say the person's name because that person, I've got so much trust in that person right now. It's over the years that this has just been really a great find the person was more an ally than the person that but the person had gone through the same thing I'd gone through, and I think that's why that the person presented that way and all that, and kind of had that kind of repetition because of holding off information, trying to be careful. I think it was kind of the same kind of same kind of conditions, but so in industry this happens as well, and not everywhere. I'm not saying, and you can see my whole the most of my career has been in software industry, so you can see that, you'll see that, and you can see that, and you can look where I work. But there are situations where you will face this in industry, and you need to cover your rear end. Okay, I'm going to say that. I'm also a corporate requirements trainer at my current job, so I do train. I've trained several hundred engineers on corporate requirements, including everything about intellectual property protection, um, and all that. So I know this very well, and also how to avoid things. And I use examples from court cases I've actually been involved in. So I've been through that, and it kind of gives some examples of why you want to avoid it, and that's kind of that's helped me to train others to how to do things. But I would say that um, do your qualification of your thesis directors, study people out, study them carefully, um, and then you need to interview them just as much as they're reviewing your application. You need to interview them and tell them you are interviewing them, and be very clear about that. Yes, you got to be arrogant. You got to be that way. That sets the tone. It doesn't matter what culture you're in. I've done it. Um, and if they don't like it that way, then you say, too bad, don't apply. Okay, don't spend the money applying. Don't spend the money in getting rejected. Um, but these are things, and yes, ideas do get stolen, publications. But I've actually seen that I've been cited probably in more things I've been not cited. So, and I've also been, I tend to give away a lot of ideas too. I give some ideas away for free. I do that, and it's been And sometimes, you never know what's going to go. And I've decided not to actually apply for patents at some points in time in my life for some reasons because there wasn't any money, no budget, or anything to do it. But the all you can do is be careful, be study people out, and be careful what you give away. Give away just enough. Give away enough to get people to work with you. Don't give away too much, and be very careful. Now, there have been things I have never given away. Okay, there have been some things I've been extremely careful giving, like my techniques in machine translation stuff. All of you know that just hard to get out of me. And I'll give away here, and I'll give a little thing here and a little carrot here and there. I'll tell you when I'm giving a carrot away, and I'll say you only get one of the 10 carrots. So I've been careful of that. And very few students, and the few students I've shared things with, I've said you never give this away because you will burn all of us, and we will all. And you, but they've been very successful when they've done this. So I've invested in students and actually given away because I want them to be successful. And the few of you that are out there, you know who you are. So the so that's kind of the experience, and I want to say that just to give you the several that you're going to go in this and deciding and wondering. And I've seen this, this reply to LinkedIn where it says like 1 out of 5 students in France goes through this copyright infringement kind of thing, or intellectual property infringement with their theses and all that. And all I can say is, um, be careful, study people out again, and qualify them, and interview your potential thesis directors. And I don't care if your education is free, even if it only costs like 1,000, or 200 euros to 500 euros per year. You study the people out, and you study them out, and you decide. Um, be careful because it could cost you in the future if they take your ideas. Um, but yeah, just be very careful with it. And if you got any questions, come reach out to me. You know how to find me. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and take the time to let me share my story and let me to explain how I've been